This week, Blue Origin returns to crewed flight, NASA sheds thousands from its workforce, and Starship edges even closer to its next launch. My name is Connor, and welcome to another episode of Spaceflight News. It was a week of motion over at Starbase. 2 starships are on the move, heat shields glowing under floodlights, and pads are pulsing with cryogenic pressure. After weeks of preparation, Ship 37, the next starship to fly, rolled out of Mega Bay 2. Its final aft flap had just been installed, and by Monday, it was already being lowered onto the transporter stand by a bridge crane and then wheeled out to Highway 4. This rollout was Ship 37 stepping up for its static fire. When it arrived at the launch complex, SpaceX was ready. New hardware had been added to the mount to support testing without a booster. An improved fixed stand bolted directly onto the launch clamps. To fix this configuration, crews attached a quick disconnect plate directly to Ship 37, allowing it to be lifted by the tower arms and seated gently onto the custom adapter. By Wednesday, things got quite serious. The mounts began venting, lines chilled, frost appeared, and then, for the first time ever, a Starship was loaded with cryogenics directly on the orbital mount. This was a first not just for the ship, but for the pad. Liquid oxygen pipelines were frosting over, systems were go. And then came the fire. A clean ignition of a single sea-level Raptor. That was just the warm-up. In classic SpaceX fashion, they moved straight into preparations for the 6-engine static fire. Deluge systems roared, data rolled in, and with tests complete, Ship 37 is now headed back to prep for its maiden flight. Meanwhile, its counterpart, Ship 38, likely set for Flight 11, also made its debut. It was spotted on the thrust simulator stand, rolling towards Macy's for cryogenic testing. There, both its tanks were fully frosted, filled and rapidly tested before returning to Mega Bay 2. It was spun 180 degrees, so teams could access and finalize some heat shielding work that needed to be done. With that, the Block 2 campaign at Macy's seems to be complete, and crews are modifying the quick disconnect system to support the future Block 3 ships. Back home at Macy's, the recovery of Booster 13's aft section offered a rare post-mortem. Removed from the ocean in a single piece, its Raptor nozzle showed visible signs of crush damage, a testament to the intensity of impact, but also a huge win for structural resilience. SpaceX is learning even from what breaks. Meanwhile, infrastructure upgrades continue at every corner. A new underground trench is being carved out to protect cryogenic and gas lines, feeding to the static fire stand. The methane tank farm has had 1 tank reinstalled and a steel pipe racks laid out. Gigabay continues its foundation prep, stripping low-grade concrete to integrate with reinforced pile caps. As for Flight 10, Elon said it could launch as soon as mid-August, but after a week like this, it's clear. The groundwork is being laid and ships are nearly ready. The final act of Block 2 era are about to play out. This week's headline casts a sharp light on SpaceX's most fragile asset, people. Expertise is leaving, partnerships are under pressure, and the best laid plans are being scaled back. Let's start with NASA, where more than 3,000 employees are walking away from the agency in last round of buyouts. Combined with early departures, that's nearly a quarter of NASA's civil servant workforce, gone in under a year. The agency says it's part of a broader restructuring effort, using voluntary exits to avoid deeper cuts. But the outcome is the same. Fewer people, less experience. NASA's budget request for 2026 aimed to take staffing down even further, to below 12,000 employees. And for an organization built on precision, planning, and institutional memory, that level of brain drain feels like a bit of a strong gamble. Innovation may come from new ideas, but execution still depends on deep expertise. At United Launch Alliance, a similar reality check is playing out. CEO Tori Bruno confirmed this week that ULA will only hit half of its planned 20 launches this year. No clear reason was given, but delays with Vulcan, the company's next-gen workhorse, are likely the culprit. It hasn't flown at all in 2025, even though it was meant to account for nearly half of the year's manifest. Bruno says the first national security mission for Vulcan is coming very soon, but that vague reassurance only really underscores the stakes. For now, ULA's success hinges not on ambition, but on delivery. Good luck, guys. Meanwhile, a diplomatic thaw may be underway in low Earth orbit. For the first time in nearly 7 years, the head of NASA and Roscosmos are set to meet face to face. Dmitry Bakanov will attend the Crew 11 launch in the US, and while here, meet with NASA acting administrator Sean Duffy. The last time this happened was back in 2018 at Baikonur. Since then, geopolitical tensions have certainly raised, especially over Ukraine. But this meeting signals a sharp intent to keep space as neutral territory, even when things on Earth are anything but. Duffy put it quite plainly: there's wild disagreement between the two nations, but the partnership in space still matters. And yet, the health of that shared peace is being tested. A long-running air leak in a Russian module continues to resist repair. Russian cosmonauts attempted to fix this month that initially seemed successful, but Roscosmos has now confirmed the leak is still active, just slower. The cracking responsible is still under some investigation, and both NASA and Roscosmos engineers are collaborating to trace the source and understand the risks. It's a reminder that the ISS, as enduring as it is aging, and in orbit, even small faults like this are existential. This week was packed with lots of action across the launch pads from around the world, so let's focus on the most notable missions. On August 1st, Crew 11 launched from Kennedy Space Center aboard Falcon 9, carrying 4 astronauts from NASA, JAXA, and Roscosmos to the International Space Station. After a short weather delay, the crew lifted off smoothly and docked the next day. The mission is already notable not just for the international crew, but for being the first NASA crewed launch streamed live on Netflix. Just 2 days later, on August 3rd, Blue Origin's New Shepard completed its 34th suborbital flight, carrying 6 space tourists above the Kármán line. Among them was an 80-year-old adventurer, Arvind Bahal, who became one of the oldest people to reach space, alongside crypto billionaire Justin Sun. The mission lasted just over 10 minutes, but marked another step towards routine suborbital tourism. Down in my home country, Australia, Gilmour Space attempted the country's first domestic orbital launch with its Eris rocket. The vehicle lifted off cleanly, but failed just 14 seconds into flight. Despite the shortfall, the mission was still a breakthrough, Australia's first homegrown rocket in decades, and one that sets the stage for future attempts already in planning. India also had a major milestone this week with the launch of NASA ISRO NISA satellite. Riding a GSLV, the spacecraft is now en route to map Earth's surface in extraordinary detail, tracking things like ice movement, deforestation, and tectonic shifts using powerful synthetic aperture radar systems. And as always, SpaceX kept the cadence ridiculously high, with 2 more Starlinks just this week. One from Cape Canaveral carried 28 satellites, and another from Vandenberg, which added another 19. These missions bring the total number of Starlink satellites to orbit to well over 9,100, further solidifying SpaceX's grip on the global broadband infrastructure. That's all for this week. If you enjoyed the episode, follow Spaceflight News on YouTube, Instagram, and X for more stories from the edge of space. Until next time, keep looking up. And Starship edges us closer to the next launch. I can't say edges us closer. I'm sorry. And Starship mugs all its competition. The mewing streak at SpaceX continues. I'll see myself out.